Michael Carnevale is branch manager and financial advisor. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, 400 Southbridge Street in Auburn, Massachusetts, 1-800-657-9126. A member of FINRA SIPC and are not deposits, not insured by FDIC or any governmental agency, not guaranteed by Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank, and subject to risk, may lose value. Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank is not affiliated with Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated. The information contained in this report does not purport to be a complete description of the securities markets or developments referred to in the material. The information has been obtained from sources considered to be reliable, but we do not guarantee that the foregoing material is accurate or complete. Any information is not a complete summary or statement of all available data necessary for making an investment decision and does not constitute a recommendation. Any opinions are those of Michael Carnevale and not necessarily those of RJFS or Raymond James. Expressions of opinion are as of this date and are subject to change without notice.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Conversations with the Long Hill Report. We're speaking with Mike Carnevale of Raymond James, who is going to tell us, like Wayne Gretzky with the puck, not where it is, but where it's going to be. Well, actually, he'll tell us where it has been. But hopefully we get a few hints.
Yep.
All right. January was a month that made you happy.
Pretty good month again. Dow was up over 1%. It's about 500 points. But there was like day after day of record all-time high closes. There was 6 of them during the month of January. And for the first time ever, over 38,000 on the Dow. That's amazing, really, when you think about it.
Okay, naturally, I'm going to hit you with the gut punch.
Yep.
How much of all this is just a response to inflation over time?
I think if at least historically, they say it's about 50%.
50%.
Is, the market average is about 8 or 9% a year. Inflation is usually 4%, so about half of it is.
So the economy
inflation.
is really, really, really doing great. American manufacturing is really, really doing great.
Not that, but the economy overall is a lot
What is
better
the
than people
economy
think.
overall? Beat him, poor man, up.
Well, it's sort of like
Services.
Services now.
Can we all just make pizzas for each other?
Well, that's the one end of it. The other end of it, of course, is software and all this other stuff that's
Okay, well,
being done.
I will grant you software, but software is made in other countries too.
Oh yeah.
So how long can that last? I mean, we used to make a lot of ships in this country.
Yep.
Don't make ships in this country other than military ships. I used to make planes. I wrote an article about how Boeing actually is being taken over by Japan, by a Japanese companies. So why would we not expect, and this is unfair to you, why would we not expect software to go the way of every other thing we've done?
Oh, I think it probably will in the long run, but
Then
it'll
be donuts and pizza.
No, it'll be replaced by something else that
I hope so.
we invent,
We.
meaning the U.S.
Yeah, because I mean, who's your group that you're inventing with? I want to know that.
No, I'm not inventing anything.
Okay.
But-
In terms of the economy, in terms of people who have investments in Vanguard or Fidelity or Raymond James
Yeah.
or whoever, it's doing okay, is
It's
what you're
doing
saying.
pretty good, yeah.
All right.
For the people who've stayed in,
Who didn't get scared
Who didn't-
5 years ago?
who didn't get scared 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, last year, or in 2022, when the market was down, like 20%, who didn't panic, it's the best of times.
Best of times. Okay. All right. February ranks 10th of 12th in performance. Last up even year was 214, so you're not making a real prediction of February this year.
No, but I mean, after, where we are today at 38,000, if February doesn't do anything, it goes down a little bit, you've built up so much gains. Historically, February is not a good month, and most recently, although it doesn't mean anything, it's just a fact. There hasn't been an even year since 2014. So if you were, betting the odds, not necessarily that, but if you were trying to keep emotions under control, you'd say, ooh, read that, I bet you February's not going to be that great. So if it turns out it's not that great, well, there's no surprise, so you don't panic, right?
What do you do if it's a great month? Is
You
that
keep
a sign?
smiling.
Is that a sign that,
Keep smiling.
uh-oh,
Well, eventually, the negative is, nothing goes in this one direction all the time. So as this thing keeps going up and up, it's just making whenever the downturn happens, more pronounced, I think.
okay, all right, we'll go with that. Technicals.
Yeah, I mean, you would think after a decent January, I mean, it was up 1.2%, but, that's less than 500 points. So it was a good month, but certainly wasn't like December where we were up thousands of points. So the technical indicators, the technical indicators actually improved a little bit. So you may get, based on how February historically looks and based on what the technical indicators look like today, it may not be a terribly bad February. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was down in February, but may not be, down a lot.
So, okay, you're optimistic about February. Well,
Yeah, a little bit more optimistic, based on what the those technical indicators that we look at. They've improved. All four of them have improved.
so the fear is gone.
Not as great as it was. Never gone. Right?
Never gone, but the fear is not as big as it was.
Correct. Yeah, I think you're right. And there's
All
been a
right.
lot of good economic news in January.
Do you think it warrants, Powell has been all over the screen. So what do you think he's saying? I mean, he isn't giving a rate cut.
Correct. Yeah.
Which, how can things be really, really good if you can't buy a house?
Right.
So, what do
Well,
you think?
I think all these economic items that we can talk about and surveys that came out, I think that plays right into what Powell is talking about. In other words, there's probably too much optimism. And so to counter that, the Fed comes out and says, hey, we're not going to cut interest rates, anytime soon. And, when he made that statement, the stock market went down 300 or so points, because that was coming after two reports came out. One was consumer confidence, which saw its biggest increase since 1991, and the fourth quarter growth rate was annualized at 3.3%. So everybody talking about recession, which would be negative growth, it actually was 3.3, which is pretty good. So I think that, coupled with the consumer confidence and the price is in the stock market, I think probably caused the Fed to say, wait a minute, things aren't as great as they look. We're not going to be cutting interest rates. And what did that do? That got people, I think, thinking again, well, maybe things aren't that, and the stock market did go down, lost 300 points. It's gained most of it back today, but.
You cite the consumer confidence since 1991.
It's the
It's
biggest
1991.
increase since 1991.
I'm sure you probably have heard the words of Mark Twain. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah, all we're doing is comparing that survey last month with the same type of survey the month before, whether it's true or not, it's probably somewhere in the middle. But I mean, all you're comparing is one number with another number in history. That's it. And that's really what the technical indicators, that's all they are. They're just comparing the same thing over and over again.
Well, that's definitely true. But when you get something going all the way back to 1991, and we've had so much happen since 1991,
Oh, yeah.
how credible is it?
Well, I mean, I think it's like every other indicator. There's good and bad pieces of it. What it's showing is, I don't get too wrapped up in the fact that, well, it's the biggest monthly increase since 1991. I'm more put it into the context of, I mean, pretty good. So, doesn't mean it's right. Just means, well, compared to another point in time, I don't think you can pinpoint, specifically why it is where it is. It's just that, growth in the fourth quarter was really, I mean, I don't think anybody predicted at 3.3%. Now you could say, well, they manipulated and they did. Yeah, but they've been doing that for years. So.
Well, even if it wasn't manipulated, that it just comes out that way doesn't really speak volumes for its usefulness.
No, all it is well, same thing with the technologies. All it is showing a trend, showing where this is today versus a day in the past. That's it.
Well, the trends should read along a line.
Right.
It should, 1991 was sort of a high point.
Right.
Then everything kind of just went down, and then all of a sudden, a new high point.
Right.
A trend should go in a line that it's building. It's building over time.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it has been building over time, right? I mean, the rate of inflation has dropped. There's some
the rate of the, let me say it again.
Rate of the increase, yes, has dropped.
Inflation has not dropped.
Unemployment is still really low. Job creation is still doing very well. Leading economic indicators, we'll see, had its best month in almost 3 years. So I think all that, I think, price of gas has gone down. I think all that can factor into, consumers, at least based on this survey, feeling a little better than they did at some prior time point.
Well, I think the term of art, there's two possibilities. The things are doing better, or they're less worse.
Yeah, they're probably both.
Is that something to hang your hat on when you're saying the good times are coming?
Yeah, I think it is, because I think there are things that you could say, okay, haven't had, had 1 or 2 quarters of negative growth, but that seems to have corrected itself. You haven't seen a big uptick in unemployment claims, even though a lot of companies have laid off a lot of people. There's a lot of jobs being created. May not be at the same pay, but the rate of inflation is dropping. Seems like now, we had that period where interest rates were constantly going up. Now there's a hint that we may be past this. So I think all of that is a reason to be somewhat positive.
And you are.
Yeah, I think I've always said, I tend to look at like the 4 things: inflation, leading economic indicators, the employment report, and jobless claims, as opposed to, the do-nothing Congress, the administration that's in power today. People put too much into that stuff that is feelings-based.
I would say I have known some successful businessmen. Um, Unfortunately, I don't attract successful businesswomen. But
Work on that.
what?
Work on that then.
Well, no, we probably won't. Anyway, they all say what I have to do is forget about the government. Look
Yeah.
around them. That's it. It's always there. It's just another obstacle.
Right.
It's just like the boulder in the road. You go around it.
Yeah.
And yeah, for the most part, 90% of the time, that's right. And in this current war in the Middle East, we're threatening to bomb, I guess, Iran for a long term. If we don't start a nuclear war, we'd probably go around that too. But at some point, we have recessions.
Right.
You do have to.
Oh, absolutely.
You do have to go around. You have to be aware of that boulder.
Correct. And I think all of that shows up well ahead of time with what's happening to these economic indicators. Because you see, in order to get into a recession, right, these economic indicators have to show a trend of getting worse. And they're really not.
They're not getting worse.
They're not getting worse.
They're just not getting better fast at all.
Yeah, I mean...
Are they getting less? Are they getting less worse?
Yeah, they're definitely getting less worse.
Okay. All right, when we get to that, we'll talk more about that when we get down to the economy.
Yeah.
All right, consumer confidence you brought up, 1991 Ford Quad Growth, annual IC, Fed meeting, we went kind of over that, interest rates, about the world, Federal Reserve, Canada, European Central Bank, no change.
Correct.
Turkey, which I think you put that in there as a joke.
It's a fact. They raised rates again.
They raised 2.5% to 40, but they've gone up. They're down actually from. Aren't they? Were they at 50%?
At one time they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and inflation is at 60.
Yes,
How that country does not fall beneath the surface of the earth.
Yeah.
Now, I have a minor theory. I don't stand behind it. It's the East. It's had government. The Eastern country, the Eastern world. They not only had big government before we did, they kind of invented it.
Okay.
And so the people have had since Sumeria, it's what, 2000 BC, maybe even 2500 BC. They've been building big government. The people have been subjected to those big governments since that time. They've seen the Romans, they've seen Alexander the Great, and the Macedonians. They've seen the Turks. They've seen the Byzantines. If any people knows how to skirt around a government, they've got it.
Yep.
So that's my theory. I'm not sticking to it. It's just a crazy guess. But we'd be tearing our hair out at that amount of inflation.
If it was at a quarter of that, we would be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's only 2 countries, central banks in the world, who have higher rates than that.
Argentina?
Yep.
Is it still?
Still 133%.
Still,
Yep.
even though they...
Changing government and whatnot.
Millet has got to get with the program.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's hoping for you, Mr. Millet. I thought they got rid of the currency itself and said we're backing, we're taking the dollar.
The dollar, yeah.
Which is not my idea of absolute stability.
The other one is Zimbabwe. They're at 150%.
Well, you know what they say in Zimbabwe?
No.
You know what we had before we had electric light? You know what we had before we had candles?
No.
Electric lights.
Okay.
At least they have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
I couldn't have that.
No.
I give it to them.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So now we get into the science. The Super Bowl.
The real serious stuff.
Yeah. Give us your take on what's going to happen.
Well,
What does it mean? You go big with the Chiefs, both sides there.
yep. It's a good matchup for stocks.
So no matter who wins?
No matter who wins. So it's not that I do nothing, at work. I do spend a lot of time doing serious studying. And it turns out every time the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, the market went up that year for an average gain of 9%. Every time they lost the Super Bowl, the market went up an average of 17%.
Don't you love science?
Yep. Every time the 49ers, or 80% of the time the 49ers won the Super Bowl, the market had an average gain of 21% for the year. And when they lost, the 49ers lost the Super Bowl 2 times, the market was up both years, an average of 17%. And when these two teams played in the Super Bowl in 2020, the market was up 7%.
Because one of them was going to win, one of them was going to lose. And
Right. So if you look at all of this and you say, well, who should you be rooting for? You'd say, oh, it doesn't really matter. But if you want to make as much money as you can possibly, the returns are slightly better when San Francisco wins a Super Bowl and the Chiefs lose the Super Bowl. So you have to go with San Francisco as the team you hope wins. But even if they don't, you're going to make money this year. According to this.
well,
There are other things that
he
could.
takes no responsibility.
No. There could be other things that cause you to lose, but
Okay.
this will tell you the odds favor a pretty good year, and maybe that's why the market is. I'm taking something from the Republican candidate who I won't mention. Maybe that's why the market is going up. It's not because he's going to return. It's because they knew who was going to be in the Super Bowl.
Could be. Could be.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, well, there's always some statistic that trumps everything.
Yep. And as a Western New Yorker, it would really bother me to see the Chiefs continue to, suffer so long with the Patriots. Now we're suffering so
Wait a
long with the
minute.
Chiefs.
Don't try to take the Patriots. You can take the
Yeah.
Bills, you can take the Giants, you can take the Jets, but you leave our
Patriots
Patriots alone.
We finally got over that hump. And now, we're going to see it's going to be the Chiefs all the time. So hopefully San Francisco wins.
Okay, well,
Well, the next time they play in Buffalo, they'll have no water in the showers rather than just cold water. You heard about that.
no, but I'm sure it was, okay.
Supposedly the heat in the the hot water was not working properly after the game in the Chiefs' locker room. Supposedly.
Well, I'm not going to put on a bet on the game, because if I really won big, I'd get a new suit, I'd go see a tailor.
Okay.
But that idea doesn't seem so swift to me.
That's another couple of words we don't want to keep repeating and repeating. Yes.
All right, moving
okay.
right along, inflation. Results were mixed, but then again, aren't they always?
Yes.
December consumer prices up 0.3%, 3.4% for the past year, which generally means people in the investment world, or people who advise in the investment world, mentioning no names, means for them 3.4% is victory lap time.
Yeah, down from 9 or 10 a
Oh,
year
yeah.
ago. Yeah,
Less worse
less
is a
worse.
philosophy.
Right.
Okay. December producer prices actually fell. Was
They
that a real
declined.
fall?
Yep, they declined a tenth
Okay.
of a percent.
Core unchanged.
Yep.
All right. Though for those two, you get a victory dance, not for the 3.4%.
All right.
Leading economic indicators.
Best month in almost 2 years. Only negative 0.1%. And of the 10 components that make up this indicator, 6 of them were actually positive. I mean, there were months where all 10 were negative, month after month after month.
And there were all months that you did not declare a recession.
That they didn't declare a recession because it wasn't backed up with some of the other jobless claims and the
Well,
employment
the
report.
orthodox theory of recession, we had it.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
And so things are getting slowly better.
Slowly, but he did put the word slowly in there.
There may be a month, maybe January, where it's actually positive.
We're looking forward to it.
We're going to try.
Let's see. Jobless claims.
That's another one, and that's another one of those indicators that, last week, 214,000 layoffs, up 20,000 from a year ago, but at least based on history, it takes 250,000 layoffs per week to start affecting the economy. So we're nowhere near that. The 4-week average, they look at the 4-week average and then the long term, which is people who are out of work for 26 weeks or longer and still looking for work. But the 4-week average is 222,000. So we still haven't gotten to that 250 plus thousand, which at least historically can slow down the economy. That's probably why the fourth quarter grew by 3.3%.
And that, all those local domestic coders are still
Yeah,
doing the output.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
Employment report, that's the other half of the labor market. It's great that fewer and fewer people are losing their jobs, but you want to see how many people are actually getting jobs. And 216,000 in December. 36th straight month of gains. 3 years of gains. The negative was the labor force declined big by 676,000. 676,000 people stopped either looking or left the market.
That's a big negative.
Yeah, but some of that could be, seasonal workers, for the holidays between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So you have to see what the January number is. Wages increased, average of 4.1% over the past year. So decent increase, but not enough that, you worry that inflation could pick up again. And unemployment remained at 3.7%. Which, the number, and then you look at the other number, there's a government number called the U6 number, which is unemployed plus discouraged workers, who are working but not doing what they want to do. That number is a lot higher. I didn't write it down, but I think it's around 6%.
Well, in this life, how many people actually get to do what they want to do?
Yeah, very few.
Other than you. Well, no, you're not doing what you want to do because you want to be in Western New York.
Yeah, most people are not doing what they really want to do.
You're stuck in Swamp Yankee, Massachusetts.
Yes.
And I understand and sympathize. But as a job, you do like what you're doing.
I like what I'm doing.
Okay.
I think everybody has people's jobs. There are a lot of parts they like. There are a lot of parts of it they don't like. But overall, I would say I like what I do.
Okay.
I'm not going to go so strong as to say love,
That's fair.
but I like it.
That's fair. Well, see now, I don't have, this isn't all I do in my life.
What you're doing now?
Right, it isn't all. But
You do more.
Well, I do other things.
Yeah.
But this aspect of my life where I get to really bug people and give them a half hour of miserableness.
I sense you like that.
It's close to heaven.
Yeah, I suspect it is. Yeah, I can. You don't even have to say it. I can read it. I can see it in your face. You enjoy it.
I'll take that little bit of sarcasm and just
Yeah.
mention that we are at the end of our little sojourn. There's Mike Carnevale and Richard Morco on the report, Conversations with. Thank you very much for being with us.